kick it off then. Go ahead.
Hey, Rhett Weddell here with
Scot Walker.
Greg Bowman.
And Carlos Francisco.
Woo! Kicking it off. So, fun with friends in Phoenix.
That's right.
I got voted down. It was going to be between two ferns, but Scott didn't want to be a fern.
No.
That's right. No.
GSX 2023.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I am fired up, man. Last year was so great. You know, people that you planned on meeting, hundreds of people that you just ran into and wanted to have good conversations.
Yeah.
So I'm sad. I'm going to miss it this year because of a work obligation. But
That's it. It's canceled.
Tell me what I'm going to miss. Well, besides everything.
You're going to miss so much. I'm going to throw one out then for Chuck because Texas Night. You're going to miss that. You're going to miss that on Sunday.
Friends of Chuck. I'm
Friends
sorry.
of Chuck.
Chuck, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're going to miss it. It's all your fault. And,
Thank you.
But it's,
Thank you.
But
I'm
it's
good with
okay. So you're going to miss that a little bit. And then on September 12th, which, you know, it kicks off really on the 11th, that second day, lots of presentations, lots of education going on.
Right.
I know that myself and good time Rhett and Roll over here, rock and roll Rhett.
There we go.
Rhett and Roll.
Rhett and Roll.
That's good.
Rhett and Roll.
Yeah,
That's
Rock and
forever
roll,
now.
Red and roll.
That's right. That's right.
Airborne. You know?
Yeah, we're going to be doing a cool presentation on data center security once again. We did it last year.
Yes.
And it was pretty cool. We got some great feedback, but we wanted to go even deeper, even further into what we do, break in some risks, some other ways of looking at data center security, and invite some friends. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think one of the cool things last year, we listened to feedback, which is great. You know, hit us up on LinkedIn or however you get your podcasts. But some folks didn't think that we went into enough detail when it came to physical security, technical security, how to get the right guard force mix. You know, you guys are talking about, you know, what's security going to look like 10 years from now at later that day. So, you know, what are data centers going to look like? So if you're not innovating and you're not thinking about the future, you know, you're probably a little bit behind the curve.
That's right.
Yeah. And then,
Well,
Scott,
let me before we go off
yeah.
the topic of data centers, your session last year was packed.
packed.
It was.
Packed. We were very
I mean, it was
lucky.
a standing room only like mine was, but
No,
it was.
I mean, it was not standing
It was
room
close.
only.
It was close.
But it was packed. I mean, it's very hard to get standing room only.
I know.
With the great Scot Walker.
And Sandra Stibbards.
Sandra Stibbards.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, any presentation with Sandra, you know that's a standing room only.
It is.
No
Just
photography.
whatever you do, no videos, no photography of it.
No.
But I think this one it's going to be really good. And the cool thing about this one, Scott, is that we're going to do what we did at GSX Orlando.
Yeah.
That you and I kicked off a long
We
time
had
ago.
a lot of fun doing it.
Reaching out to some friends,
Yep.
and then as we're talking about the industry, we're bringing people up on stage.
That's right.
We're going to try to do the same thing this time around, but focus on data center, kind of physical security systems, you know, and really look at the future, how we secure that data center, which holds all the data.
Well, I think where you guys are going too is none of us can do any of these jobs in corporate security alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We always need our vendor partners. And so I love how inclusive you are and you're going to be with this one that we were in 2021 in
Yeah.
Orlando.
Yeah, I think
Same
each
thing.
of us had people that we could reach out to on the way up, right?
Yep.
So I think this is a really responsible response to that, and
Yeah.
that is, we may not have it right. You know, somebody in the audience may ask a question or throw a concept out that just fits. You know, it's like me in algebra in 8th grade. You know, 12th grade, I finally got it. It clicked. So, you know, we're looking for those people in the audience that have a question, are thinking about getting into the industry, have heard a lot about it, but wanted to validate or disprove the myths. You know, I think it'll be a really good conversation.
Well, when you say industry, you're talking about data center
Data center
specific.
security.
you say data,
Right.
some people say data. You know, you never know.
You can say it either way.
Yeah.
What do you?
I use both. I'm equal opportunity.
Depends if I'm on the East Coast or West Coast.
Right.
It
True.
depends who I'm hanging out with.
What do they say on the East Coast?
I think it's data.
Data.
Oh, okay.
I think
so
it's
like
data.
the character.
Yeah, data is more of a
Yeah.
West Coast thing.
Absolutely.
But here it is, right? We were, like you said, we listen, we're taking the concept to the next level. And the cool thing about this is all about securing the future, which then you and I, Scott, we get to
we're
talk
gonna roll
about
right into it.
Security 2033. So we take this securing the future data center world right into what corporate security is going to look like in 2033. And I'm excited about, the kittens.
We're going to talk about spy kittens. Yeah.
Spy kittens.
Drones, robotics, artificial intelligence.
Oh, man, we were
machine
talking about
learning.
cockroaches with cameras in them. Make
drones,
sure-
privacy. Everybody thinks they.
Great movie.
It's like going to your first kid's basketball game, right? You think you know the rules, but you don't.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Until you read the rule book. I think the future is going to really explode expectations. Everybody's got a drone. You can get it for $49 on Amazon,
right,
or Costco, or another retail provider, right?
Yeah.
But so how private are you? You know, how can you protect your images and likenesses and all that other stuff?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really awesome. I'm very excited about it. I mean, we're talking about, things that fly, things that don't fly, robots that move, robots that really don't move. We're talking about all the different ways of looking at access control and how in the old, the new kind of IoT world, how all of that works and combines as one. I'm really excited about 2033. And I think that's great. You're missing out on all of this.
I am. I'm sad.
You're
I'm
missing
very
out on all of
sad.
this.
You could get the virtual pass, then you get all our recorded tape.
I'm thinking about it. Thank you.
I agree.
So-
ASIS, we're going to get them to get the virtual pass.
Virtual
at least.
pass,
Right.
yeah.
But,
So,
And if you can't make it like I can, look at the virtual pass.
Yeah.
It's going to be great presentations with
That's
these
right.
guys.
Yeah.
Helps them out.
But Greg, being law enforcement, I know you were a sheriff. You're in law enforcement. They always tip the cap to military and law enforcement folks on Wednesday.
That's right.
You get a free ticket. If you're thinking about transitioning, this is your chance. Go to Texas, have a blast, talk to some security professionals, start
Yep.
growing your network. I think it has worked for us, and it'll work for you as well. So look forward to
Just
seeing
walking
you.
the floor.
Right.
There's for people that haven't been, there's a huge showroom.
There is.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's thousands of people and probably hundreds of vendors.
Right.
That
I agree.
come and put up.
And
that
beyond
booth.
the vendors, it's meeting the folks that you see on LinkedIn that you're working with, that you're connecting with, running into them on the floor. Hey, Scott, nice to meet you in person.
That absolutely happens.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I agree. And the great
Absolutely
thing
happens.
about that, you just talked about the transition. I know that our good friend Eric Kready from that side of town in Texas, he's putting together a presentation on Wednesday for everybody that is transitioning. I know for a fact that Carlos, the corporate security translator here, will be bringing in a bunch of his books. So you want to get into corporate security, so he can actually hand it
Now,
out.
you're going to sign books?
We're going to sign books, and we're going to
All
hand
right.
it out, and Eric's
Again?
going to give it out to some of the folks that are transitioning.
Nice.
I'm really excited. The cool thing about ASIS too is that they have the military liaison group.
Yep.
Every
Enforcement
chapter
liaison.
has that leads to one big piece of the military liaison. Eric Kready has always been involved with that. Eric, so we're excited to see you there.
Big
I think it's
time,
gonna be
big
great.
time. John was the regional vice president last year.
That's right.
Good friend of ours, yours, right?
Yeah.
This year, Joe Moon has
Yeah.
got the.
Oh, well, this
Joe Moon.
is his backyard.
Well, it's his
That's right.
backyard.
Exactly.
It is.
So, Joe Moon, the regional, I think it's called a regional vice president or something like that, or a regional, I forget what it's called,
Yeah.
but for ASIS.
We'll just
Yes.
call him the Chancellor Extraordinaire.
The
for
Chancellor.
ASIS, right? So, Joe, we're coming to see you, buddy.
I was going with Commodore.
Commodore works too.
Commodore.
Grand Poobah.
I like
Examples
that. So it's gonna be fun. I'm actually bringing some new friends. It's gonna be interesting.
Not just new.
Well, new, and let me tell you how well. Not new friend to me, but this gentleman Javier Agosto. I'll make sure I'll put you on there. But he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey man, I just moved to Dallas, and I'm trying to figure out this security thing." And he was a prior Army guy, military
Cool.
guy.
Yep.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm trying to figure this thing out, man." I said, "Listen, there's GSX right on your side of town. Why don't you come out?" He signed up right away for the Wednesday night because
There you go.
automatically Wednesday
Yep.
he gets the free stuff with the military, and right away he signed up for Texas night. So I'm excited to kind of welcome a brand new person that kind of got away a little bit from like his military background. He
Right.
went into, as a matter of fact, he was a security manager, leader for a very long time for a place called Blue Martini, which was national. It was a martini lounge, high-end martini lounge. You'll find him in Miami, Los Angeles, Orlando,
Right.
a lot of the big cities out there. And now he's finally kind of coming back into the security industry. He wants to get into the corporate world. How cool is it that, hopefully he'll walk the floor with us. We get to meet him, introduce him to folks.
Well, let's talk about
You know?
that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about what do each of you recommend for somebody who's new to the industry, and then let's talk about what would you do if you didn't have to do what you're going to be doing, which is talking and presenting and doing
Yeah.
all these things. As a seasoned professional, what's the value of going to GSX?
Well, you went for the first time.
I did. I was able to
Oh, okay.
experience the first
Good.
time last year. So for me, it was meeting a lot of people that I've connected with on LinkedIn in person and purposely seeking them out to say hi, to show my appreciation for those that are willing to take the time to talk. When I transitioned several years ago from
Yeah.
law enforcement
Yeah.
into it was meeting the folks that provide content that we all follow on on LinkedIn and other platforms, getting to meet Chuck Andrews, getting to talk to Chuck Harold, getting to talk to a lot of the influencers in our industry.
Security TV guy.
Exactly.
Where is Chuck, the security TV guy? Love you, Chuck. And seeing what's out there from a curriculum perspective of what interested me.
Yeah.
So my recommendation to those folks that are new, or if this is your first or second time, look at the agenda, find what interests you, and go to those presentations because there's a wealth of knowledge there.
I agree. And real quick on Chuck Harold, it's funny because you meet a lot of people in the industry, become great friends with them. And literally not too long ago, 6-7 months ago or something like that, I don't remember exactly, I said, hey, Chuck, man, I'm coming into town. You got a place for me to sleep at night? And he literally hooked me and you up.
We did.
One night's sleep, and he took us out to lunch, and we had a great time with his wife, Argentinian lady, Brazilian. We have a little bit of issues there when it comes to soccer, but they were gracious hosts.
Right.
It was really, really incredible. His wife is lovely. But I mean, that's the kind of thing that you learn and you meet, and you get a chance to be right next to somebody that is as great as Chuck Harold, that's been around the industry forever and ever, right? And then for Chuck to go ahead and open up his house for us, that's the relationships that you build, I think, at GSX, and that's the thing that's really, really important.
How about you, Rhett?
I'm kind of reflective because I've been in ASIS for a long time, right? So I used to go mainly as an owner, whether it was my position in the Army or my position in other organizations where I was a buyer, I was evaluating, cameras and locks and access control systems. And then as I started to transition out of the military and into other pockets, with government service, and then now in the private sector, I think everybody that's watching this or everybody that's thinking about it, there is something there for you.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be overwhelmed by the complexity and the number of events that there are. I think, Carlos wrote a damn good book on how to transition. He's got really great tips in there about getting your affairs in order, doing some really good backward planning, considering what it's going to do to your family, right? So if you're retiring out of a place in Denver, are you willing to move to New York, right? Because my grandfather said it, I've said it a lot. All money isn't good money. Just because you can get a position overseas, tax-free, or somewhere else, you're going to find out that lodging, relocation, taxes, all of a sudden, all that money that you thought you were making is just about what you were making before, right? So find the right job and then talk to guys like this.
Well, I think to follow up on your comment, there's something there for everybody.
Yep.
Make it your own. Make it your experience.
Absolutely.
There's so much to choose from, so much to dive into that it can be overwhelming, but make the experience your own for what it is you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to pump education.
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm certified. You guys are certified through ASIS. I think there's plenty of opportunities for people to get continuing education units.
Right.
Hopefully they're also volunteering somewhere in a community.
Yep.
But on my side, on the investigation side, we're going to be doing a PCI
That's right.
learning thing on Saturday and Sunday. People can go and they can learn. We've got a ton of interest, by the way, from our friends in Africa. Huge interest to become
It's
PCIs.
amazing
It
how
is.
these
We were
different
talking about that
continents
yesterday.
are just coming up,
Yep.
man.
Yep. South America.
South
too.
America last year was
Blowing up.
huge.
Yep.
Right? I remember the year before we were in Orlando, and I remember seeing Eastern Europeans, like Ukrainians. I mean, there was so many different folks from Eastern Europe as well.
Yeah.
It's amazing how things are changing.
We always joke that ASI is international. It's international, but it's like Europe, United States, really, right?
Right.
North America, I'll say. But my experience over the last couple of years has been much more international.
Oh, yeah.
And you're traveling a lot, right? You go to the north,
Great White North. Yep.
have a great time up there.
Yeah, and they are huge ASIS fans in Canada.
So we're talking about GSX. I think it's really important for each of you to know that regardless of your gender, your position in your career, there is something there for you. Saturday and Sunday they're doing a big event for women in security.
That's right.
They always have a hosted event, an icebreaker for new attendees. If it's your first or second year, come to ASIS. If you're under 25, there's young professionals.
That's right.
I mean, you can really find a group and take those contacts with you. You may not be thinking about transitioning now, but 2 or 3 years, you may have a question about, hey, I wonder what it's like in the world of investigations or the world of data centers.
This
I
is
was
your
a
time
former
to talk
cop.
to them.
What's it like to transition?
What's on the other side
There's
for me?
always somebody there that you can talk to.
Yeah, it's amazing. So here I'm going to add on. I'm just keep on adding on to why I think this is important, especially for either a young person that's getting into the industry. Like I wish ASIS, and I know they're working on it because there's been, certifications that have finally been put forth to push for younger folks in our industry to really become these security professionals,
Absolutely.
right?
And how do you prove you are? Through some certification.
That's exactly it. So they push for that. But here's the key thing. I want to see some young people there.
I
want to
really
see some
do.
young people. And if I was young right now, first of all, right now I'm reaching out to almost everybody on LinkedIn, right? And I'm trying to find out who's going to be there, who's not going to be there, what's going on. And I'm literally asking them, hey, can I walk the floor with you?
Yep.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Can I just be in your coattails? I won't say anything. Because what's going to happen is a couple of things. One, you're going to see the interactions, right? And then it's going to start making you feel comfortable that maybe next year when you're there, boom, now you're the one that's interacting left and right. It also teaches you a lot about the industry because if you're just listening to how people are talking, how they're walking, how they're exchanging ideas and having conversations, automatically gets you prepared for the industry. But here's the biggest thing too. Anybody that was walking with me, the past couple of years, if I could help them get a job or get a career or connect them with somebody else, right? That's what I'm trying to do.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to do. And back in my cities, you got to think about this, you got to think about that. There's nothing more beautiful than there was a law enforcement officer a couple of years ago, and I said, hey, what do you know about cameras? So, how much? Oh, let's go check out. I got a buddy over here at this camera, place. Let's talk about it. Hey, what can you tell me? If you were to tell him he's got to take a test 5 minutes from now. You have 5 minutes to tell him some of the important things about cameras and what he should be looking for in a camera system. Go. And guess what? The beauty about our industry is that we're all willing to do that.
Yes.
Right? To tell the young person or the new person, whoever they are,
Absolutely.
about that camera system. And right away, that person got probably a pretty good education for a professional that's down on the ground in the business, right? Doing, selling, implementing, right? It's a wonderful. So I'd be doing that.
So, I remember, a couple of years ago, walking the floor and running into Scott. I thought Ed Sullivan was there introducing the Beatles.
Yes.
Because, Scott's got guys that are hitting him up from, his military career, from his, private investigation, his corporate investigation. If you have a question or you want to know what right looks like, I'm not saying that we're it, but it's there. It's there for you, and people will stop dead in their tracks, grab a seat, and just answer your questions.
Yeah, and I think the next jobs that people are getting in the future will be from people that meet at things like this.
Absolutely.
And so if you have an opportunity to break bread with somebody and have a meal with them, there are a bunch of great security companies that offer dinners throughout the week. Get invited, get yourself invited to one of those.
Call.
Yeah. And I think that's when you have that opportunity, you sit around the table with somebody and you're sharing, war stories. That solidifies something with them.
I think we all
for the
know 4 or
future.
5 people in the last, rifts have happened, and people have changed
Exactly.
careers voluntarily or involuntarily, and some of them have landed on their feet largely because of the people that they've met over the last couple of years.
Well, I think like a lot of you, all you guys, I get hit up on LinkedIn quite a bit. Hey, I'm looking to transition from the military, from law enforcement. I don't know what I want to do.
Right.
And trying to figure out where they want to go. This is a great event at GSX that you're going to run into folks that have a wealth of experience to be able to say, do you have 5 minutes to talk? I want to talk about investigations. Is that right for me? Am I interested in that? And after hearing about it, do I want to pursue it? Or, hey, what about your experience?
Well, it's funny because, if you ask Carlos that question, you're immediately in a televangelistic experience, right? He is praising you. He is Holy Spirit in you. He's giving you everything he's got.
That's its own
The grass is
e-ticket ride.
is green.
That's my own.
If you talk to me, I don't want to say that I'm Debbie Downer, but I'm generally one that I
You hit it with
jumped.
the truth.
I jumped a little bit early, right? I thought I had a great plan.
Yeah.
It kind of collapsed at the last minute. I had to recoup. I was already on my way out of the military, so I think it's not a cautionary tale, but it's something that you should be aware of. That the best laid plans. You really need to have a backup. And
What are those lessons learned?
Yes.
Back up to a backup.
But that's you telling the truth. And here's the beauty about this thing too. Know, like, and trust is something that you say
That's
all
right.
the time. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yep.
The thing is that if you go out there and you meet folks and you take your time to really talk to them about their lives and how they got to where they got and all these other things, they'll tell you their true story. on how they failed a couple times.
Yep.
I have failed a couple times. I'm sure everybody in this room have failed a couple times, and you can learn from those mistakes. That's why GSX is so important. See, because I've been fooled on camera. I've met people on camera and I've been fooled. The beauty about know, like, and trust at GSX is that I get a chance to have a one-on-one conversation with you. And I'm a people person. I mean, I was in the people industry for 24 years before I actually got into tech. You know, so for me, I've always dealt with human beings since I was 16 years of age.
Yep.
Right? And I could get it right away. If somebody's fake, somebody's not real, they're not there, you know, for the right reasons, the right things, and I know they're not going to cooperate in a relationship, partnership as we're trying to work together. Well, you can sense that. But if you are that person that I know, like, and trust right away, and I can feel it, right? I'm going to do everything in my power to hook you up.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing to be able to do that, and you and I have talked at length about my transition out of law enforcement and my first role into the retail side as a loss prevention manager, and that was entirely not talk about a failure,
Right.
Failure to research, failure to know what I was getting into, and 3 months in, I knew this is not my path. So to your observation as well,
Yeah.
it was then learning and talking to people to say.
Well,
what am I trying to get to? Help me understand what's out there.
Well, it's hard for cops, right?
Very
I mean,
hard.
Who do you know that's in security?
Right.
Well, I respond to the 44.
And that was my responding to calls for service or shoplifting.
Yeah,
well,
but-
I think I could do that.
Yeah, I could do
I
that.
think
That's pretty cool.
that's a great topic that we could probably do another hour on. Is, I was an enlisted guy. I got commissioned. Senior officer, retired out of a pretty cool position. Everybody that I interviewed with the first 3 or 4 months was expecting a pearl-handled revolver and me slapping the recruiter.
Which I'm all good with all of it.
That's
Now
their
I have this
mindset,
visual.
right?
The sheriff of Fort Worth County, if you ever need that, he actually has a
They
pearl
think
handle.
military officers are just
19.
direct and inflexible.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, when you've got questions about how did you get the job you got,
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe the technical loops that you may have to go through, the interviews that you're going to have to go through,
Right.
and the answers that are, I have done everything, I am so great. What these guys are looking for, how did you impact your team?
Yeah.
Or how
Right.
did you impact your community? Or what's your
Right.
culture like?
I agree.
There's just so many things that you can get out of.
This is what's interesting. What we're going to talk about, the future. What does 2033 look
Yeah.
like for corporate security? And hiring is
God.
coming off the rails.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's one of the biggest things that will be disrupted, right? Outside of education and healthcare. It's
Yeah.
one of the biggest industries that's going to be disrupted by artificial intelligence. So if you think that you can just get a resume writer and they can have the perfect resume for you and you can go, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
You can spend $500 doing that, but don't expect you're going to get the CSO role
Yeah.
without having any substance behind it. GSX helped you find that substance, right? And you don't want to also be lost in the AI muckety-muck because it didn't read your resume the right way and you didn't have the right certifications or whatever.
Right.
So I think that with artificial intelligence, the whole hiring process is going to change. And so if you're not on top of those things,
Right.
and you're not, to your point, going and meeting these people and talking with them, it's going to be a lot better in the future if I go, hey, Rhett, you guys hiring? You guys looking for something? Or you go, hey, Scott, are you looking? I know you got a good job, but are you looking? Because we need somebody here, right? Those are the relationships that we build at
Correct.
GSX.
But I think all of us, either on our social media or on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
or directly to you guys, if you're watching, if you're a hiring manager, show up, right? Have time to develop the bench. If you know somebody in a C-suite, tell them, come to GSX, talk about your company, talk about where you're headed, talk about the opportunities, because we are going to run out of seasoned middle infielders,
That's
right?
right.
That short relief guys.
Yeah, there aren't enough Gen Xers.
We have to grow that bench, and we have to do it now.
Yeah, but I hate to say this, the millennials are going to save us. Demographically, there are more millennials than there are Gen Xers.
for that? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's
yeah.
not
This
it's
is
not
totally
insane
allowed.
Disney, but pretty close to it, I think. Yeah, I don't disagree with all that. It's going to be very interesting. the more AI writes resumes, the more people are actually going to have to show up for an interview. The more people are going to have to be authentic.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, because the AI will set you
AI
up.
fraud is going to be
But
rampant.
it's going to be. But if you cannot bring your authentic
it.
self, right?
back that up.
Somebody that can come across as I get to know him.
You
I get to
can
like him.
Yeah.
I get
Chat
to trust them
GTP
all
everything
day.
about security
Absolutely.
Our
stuff.
good friend Chad. We call him
Chad, yeah, sorry, Chad GTP.
Our good friend Chad.
But when the crisis hits,
Yeah.
there's no Googling anything or Chad is going to be down, right?
Exactly.
And that's the thing about 2033, right?
That's it.
We're going to get there, and then honestly, your whole genuineness, is that the word?
Yes.
Genuineness.
We'll say
That's
It
what's going to separate you from whoever else is going to be in that room working for that same position
Yeah.
that you are, right? So, yeah, what were you going to say?
I just think we were having that conversation at lunch, right? We've all met that guy or young lady, have a really great resume, done a lot of really good things. You ask them a specific question, and all you get is the 50,000-foot answer, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I impacted change.
Yeah.
I was a
There's
great
a lot of smoke.
I was a great
between the
force
fires.
multiplier, right?
Yeah.
So the next question on your loop is going to be, hey Scott, that's great. Can you give me one example of a time where you specifically impacted X, right? And then you see that stare, right? Chat GPT isn't going to talk in your ear. You have to know. You have to have the ground
Well,
floor.
by 2033, it might. That's a
2030,
whole augmentation.
right.
That's a whole different.
Well, by now we'll all be robots or something. But here it
Maybe
is.
by next year. Even.
Yeah. But here's another beauty about GSX. I mean, the amount of people that I've met online, especially through that 20 to 22 range, it was awesome to go to actually GSX when they reopened everything.
Orlando.
Be able to see them live and in person.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
It was
yeah.
really
Orlando.
incredible. And here's a couple of amazing things that came out of that period in time. One of them is the kindness games.
Yep.
We got some amazing folks in the kindness games that are out there. It was amazing to see them at GSX.
Absolutely.
I know a bunch of the kindness games folks are going to be
They will.
out at GSX
And they'll
once
be
again.
speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about shaking hands and hugging every single one of them.
Yep.
But the beauty about the kindness game is that, right? How do we become kind in a security industry that is pretty rough at times, right? And now they've taken it beyond the security industry. They're going everywhere else, and these are the folks that are going to be there that you're going to be able to meet.
Lee and all the other guys.
Oh God,
Tim,
and
Wenzel,
yeah, the
exactly.
leaders that kick that thing off. But everybody's there to help you, and that's a beautiful thing. Other groups like the Silicon Valley security group. There's going to be a bunch of folks in the Silicon Valley, and now the new LA,
LA
security group,
yeah.
man. So
Yes.
I'm really
That's
excited about that, and they're going to be at GSX. These are all folks in different locations, different areas that you can connect with. Right? I mean, how many jobs do we see, even a Silicon Valley security group, pop up all the time? Hey guys, I'm hiring for this, I'm hiring for that.
It's part of the connection.
I mean, you're part of the leadership team.
I am part of the membership team. with Silicon
Well, you
Valley
won't get to
Security
meet them
Group.
because you won't be
I
there.
won't be there, sorry.
But, you know,
But this is back to when folks within our groups of the Silicon Valley Security Group, now the LA Security Group, of hey, I need somebody for my GSOC. I need a manager to oversee investigations. Does anybody know somebody that I can reach out to? That's where these connections, and GSX in particular, really come in handy. Because, hey, Scott, do you know somebody? I do. Let me
Guaranteed.
give me
Yeah.
their name and phone number, and happy to point you in their direction.
Yeah, everything is about connection.
It is.
It's
It
all,
is.
and I always say, you act globally, but you think locally. You got to
Absolutely.
be thinking about.
I love
what's at
that.
home, right? I mean, we all talk about we all are in global companies,
Right.
Have a global reach, and we're everywhere where the sun shines. We have operations.
And I'll
But you
even
can't-
take it one more beyond a connection.
Yeah.
I'll reframe my own answer. It's about relationships.
So, and they have to be substantive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
well, I agree. I agree. And that's, let's see. I mean,
I'm
might as
gonna
well.
put that down.
Greg, you on?
No. I'm hydrating.
Yeah,
the other
hydrating
way,
is
but,
good.
you know,
Hydrating is good. But that's what it's about, right? So we got a couple minutes left here, so we can kind of rotate through some things. But with GSX 2023 is going to be great. It's-
No, what are you guys, as senior security leaders, looking forward to at any GSA? It doesn't have to be this one, right? Because we all look forward to Texas.
It's got to be Orlando, right? When we took that hotel,
That was a great
when
experience.
we
Talk
took
about that. Tell them what we did.
It was kind of impromptu. I mean, Carlos had some connections, and they said it will set up a little reception area for a few of your friends. and we force marched through Baton all the way over to a meeting room that was packed. It had to be 200 people in the hallway, and we just kind of security riffed.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a great term.
it
security
was
riffing.
absolutely magical to see the excitement of you guys and ultimately me when you brought me up. You know, the young guns like Chad and some of
Chad,
the other,
yep.
you know, up and comer guys that are
Chad
doing a
with
great
Metro
job.
One, yeah.
Yep.
You know, that was-
but I mean, where can you go and just mosh pit your way to a security answer?
Mosh pit.
It's phenomenal. It is like a security concert.
And it wasn't a pitch from vendors.
None.
Right?
Absolutely not.
Because
and that's the beauty about that, because it was actually a vendor that kind of sponsored.
That-
They didn't kind of.
But they were very
sponsor.
like, hey, we're in the background. We're putting, everybody else.
This is for the
Gave away
security
some cool
industry.
swag.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is for the security industry. Go ahead
Yeah.
and,
Pay it
Track
forward.
Force Bounty, by the way. Track Force Bounty. Tim, great marketing guy that was with them at the time, said, look, we're just going to put it out there. George, their CEO at the time, put it out and said, we're just going to put it out there, and we just want security folks to come. You do your thing. You and Scott do your thing.
They had no idea how many people were going to
Yeah,
go.
they had no idea. But it was amazing, right? I think that's what we're trying to pull with the data center
Absolutely.
presentation. That's what we're going to try to pull with the 2033 presentation.
Yep.
It's that same feel, that same vibe, but involving the industry. Because what you said, and we didn't get a chance to get back to that, is that you and I don't have all the answers to data centers.
No.
I remember last year's, right? We were talking about Colo and Pops. Who did I call up?
Greg.
I was like, hey, Greg, you're doing it right now. Why don't you stand up and really tell them what it's about? Because, I may know a little bit about a little bit, but he knows a lot about a lot, right? Because he's in the business right there and then. That's what we want to do. We want
I
to
don't
bring
want to
those
go.
folks
I don't want to
that are
go
in that.
along, but a lot of owners, right? A lot of people who are hiring contract guard force security companies, they have a perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We had about 6 security companies that shared some of their pain points,
That's
whether it is the relationship with the owner or the client, whether it's the hiring market, whether it's are your standards too high or too low. There's a lot of commentary on really poorly written RFPs, right? Because if you don't know what you want,
Request for proposal.
right? If you don't know how to articulate your requirements and your deliverables, how can any vendor possibly fulfill them,
Right.
So you're artificially building up stress. And I mean, these are just a handful of the topics that we get, and that it would be great.
What
to
I
talk
think
about.
is most important or really important that we don't talk about enough is being a business leader.
Yep.
Yes.
Right? What is our service? Security, the sense of security, safety,
Right.
whatever, investigations. That's the service. That's what we provide, but it has to be from a business standpoint.
It does.
None of us work, and many people don't work for security companies that do security for security's sake.
Yeah.
Right? Even global security guarding companies are full-blown businesses.
Yeah.
They are.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Nobody's giving away anything for free. We're all working off of margins. We're all working off of a budget, and to figure out how do I go from nothing to something.
Yep.
That's going to be more important, I think, in the future. And so if we're not thinking about that, you're not meeting about it, you're not talking about it, you're going to miss the bus.
Right.
Yeah. And you don't want to miss this.
Don't want to miss the bus.
Nobody
That
wants
is
to miss
a
the
party
bus.
bus.
That
Because
is a
that
party
bus is going to 2033,
That's
which you guys
right.
will be talking about.
That's
Sure
We
will.
could be talking about.
So that's really cool. You and I, September 12th, talking about data center.
Tuesday, 11:15.
Securing the
I think, right?
future. I'm very excited about that. And we're going to bring some friends on stage. Whoever's there, you might just point out, come on up, and that's it.
That's right.
And then we get later on that afternoon, you and I, we get to
future
talk
to
about.
corporate security.
That's it,
Yeah.
2033. I'm excited about, man, those kittens.
That's
those
just
spy
spy
kittens,
kittens. Yeah.
man. I'm really excited about that.
I'm doing another one on sabotaging
I
critical
forgot about
infrastructure.
that. I'm so.
Is that Wednesday?
Yeah. I think it is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, the day after.
Yep. Yep. We're doing
Wait,
sabotaging.
who are you doing it with?
It's the critical infrastructure community.
Nice.
So investigations community, which I'm the chair of,
Right.
and the infrastructure community.
Big time
By the way,
PCI.
the PCI. The communities are outside of GSX are also good ways to build that rapport and learn
Right.
about different things. Our community, on the investigation side, talks a lot about how do you do investigations. We're also pushing out like, hey, I need an investigator in this part of the world or that part of the world. Somebody was looking for an investigator in Haiti the other day.
IT.
And put it out to the community. So communities are there to help you learn when
Yeah.
you're not at GSX, right?
Yeah.
So the infrastructure community, and the investigations community are coming together, and I don't know what my part is yet. I think I might be like a moderator type, kind of like how we'll do here.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about sabotaging critical infrastructure.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
It's
that.
a little relevant.
Just a little bit on what's going on today. But that's exciting. So, GSX 2023, Dallas, ASIS, put it together once again. Great folks. Everybody's going to be there. Be there yourself. I know Corporate Security University is going to be there,
Yeah.
so I'm very excited. And yeah, that's it. Well, thanks.
Man, what a great talk. It's
I
great
appreciate it.
Outstanding.
Sorry, buddy.
Hope to see you guys there.
Almost everybody will be there.
Almost everybody will be there except them.
Some people are too important.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's what it is.
Well, thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.